going after Steam. That's the reason.
A group of developers are speaking out. For over 20 years, Steam has been the undisputed king of PC gaming. But in February 2026, a massive report from The Guardian revealed a growing rebellion. A group of developers are speaking out.
Shit publication from the UK, by the way.
Reality is but an illusion.
And their target isn't a rival console. It's the very thing that makes Steam work. The user review system.
See, they don't understand this because they're in fucking Britain or something like that, but we have freedom of speech here. They want to bring and colonize us. We fought a fucking war over this in 1776. No, we don't want you to come and colonize our fucking website so you can push your narrative. Get the fuck out of here.
Titled "This Shouldn't Be Normal," developers speak out about bigotry on Steam. Paints a picture of a platform in chaos. Multiple creators are describing what they call ineffective moderation and
it's not effective because it doesn't
unchecked hatred. They want Valve
unchecked. They want to tell other people what to think. That's what they do. They want to tell other people what to think and tell other people what they can't think.
To step in. They want reviews deleted. They want the culture wars scrubbed from their store pages.
No, they don't want the culture war scrubbed. They want to win the culture war. That's a very big important difference. Because these people are not against a culture war. They're against an opposition to their culture war. This entire idea that, it's culture war. No. You started, and then you don't want anybody else to respond. That's the problem.
Valve isn't budging. In fact, their response to these demands has been one of the most significant defenses of platform neutrality we've seen in years. Today, we're looking at why some developers think Steam is broken and why Valve believes that fixing it their way would actually be the ultimate act of censorship. The primary argument from the developers is that Steam has become a quote-unquote battleground. Take design.
It's a battleground for the culture war. Yeah, and you have a problem with that because you just want to win categorically. You want to win by default, and because people are pushing back on you, now you think it's a problem.
Lawhead, for example. Lawhead spent 2 years trying to get specific reviews removed from their game pages. One review of the game, Blue Suburbia, was objectively personal, referencing Lawhead's private life and physical appearance. Lawhead told The Guardian, "I assumed reporting Steam abuse might have its own issues, but I did have hope that this would be the way to get it resolved." Then there's the case of Coven, an actual
total bullshit, by the way. Nobody should get their review deleted. If you want to review something because you think the developer's fat, fair. If you want to review something because you think that the, whatever it is, like the fucking, the graphics are bad, fair. Everything should be fair.
Horror game. The developer Ethan claims he was targeted by a curator called Charlie Tweets Detected. This curator doesn't review games based on graphics or gameplay. They review them based on what the developer said about Charlie Kirk.
So what's the problem with that?
Reported this to Steam support, arguing it was off topic. But look at how
that's not even true. This is the question you should ask anybody who tries to push things. Do you think that people should be able to downvote a game and give a negative review for a game when it's made by a developer that thinks that black people should go back into slavery? Like then a person that's racist that calls them the N-word. And they will trip over each other to try to explain why it's different. But at the end of the day, they actually don't have a problem with this at all. They have a problem when it happens to them. That's what they do.
Steam responded. They defined off-topic as a recipe for cookies or something completely unrelated to video games that is clearly trolling. Because the review was tied to the developer of the game, Steam let it stand. these developers, this feels like an ultimate act of betrayal. Amy of Studio Kratos stated Valve's refusal to moderate any of this is making Steam reviews and forums the battleground for some kind of culture war. It's making them unsafe for marginalized people. But this
Unsafe for marginalized people. If you read a review, you might kill yourself. You might actually even die. So this is the anti-woke. See, the reason why they have a problem with this is because they're losing. They're totally losing their market share. They've already lost the chokehold that they had on online discourse. They no longer can put out a message and nobody can respond to it. Now you have people like me that farm the fuck out of them for hate, and I'm gonna keep doing it too. I'm gonna keep doing it. And now, every single time that I hear somebody try to censor, I do it twice as much. I go twice as hard. I push twice as much. I review these games, I shit on them, and that's what you get. You shouldn't have done it. And the thing is, and the reason why, if anyone's retarded, yeah, exactly. Are we all marginalized people? No, they want to marginalize you and then claim to be the victim whenever you try to push back. That's the reason why. They want to criticize without criticism. I'll keep doing it. I love it.
But this isn't just about small indie games either. We're seeing this play out with massive projects that have recently crashed and burned. Just look at Highguard. When the game launched, it was met with a very negative rating almost instantly. The developers at Wildlight Studio didn't just take the L. They blamed the hate mobs. A former developer who got let go reflected on the launch, saying we were turned into a joke from minute one.
It was actually about second one, but yeah, that's true. This guy got so much pushback on Twitter for writing out his stupid little article that he deleted his entire account. You know what I call that? Natural selection. That's what's gonna happen. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have made trash playing games. And like, he's going there, he's quoting things that I said. He doesn't name it, right? But he's quoting things that I said. And then he's acting like, oh, it's unfair. Too bad, dude. Too bad, I'm gonna do it again.
Argue that dishonest critiques of their characters and anti-woke sentiment killed the game before it had a chance. But it's...
See, they always have a problem with anti-woke sentiment, but they don't have a problem with woke sentiment. You know why? Because that's what they want to push. So they have no problem pushing their narrative, but they don't want anybody else to have the same thing.
If you look at the reviews, the players are saying something different. They're saying the game was boring, the art style was unattractive, and they didn't want another live service.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Prince Andrew has been arrested because of the Epstein files. He got stripped of his title, and now the king is saying, let me state clearly, the law must take its course. I have learned with the deepest concerns the news about Andrew and the suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now, if you're like me, you'd think that misconduct is related to women and the accusations that have been levied against the prince. But that is not the case. It's actually about the leaking of private information while serving as the UK's special representative for international trade and investment. This is because it was discovered that the Duke would sometimes forward information to Jeffrey Epstein that was obviously sensitive, like this, Helmand high-value commercial properties for foreign investment, or this, a trip report for Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, Shenzhen. Obviously, the former Prince Andrew would have access to insider information or confidential information as part of his role, and forwarding that to a financial trading file is probably not a great idea. This is also deeply concerning because it blows a hole in Prince Andrew's big lies where he said he cut off Jeffrey Epstein in the late 2010s, because this is right about the time that he's engaging him once again in all of his contact. So for him to previously have said, oh yeah, I found out he was a bad guy and I cut him off, I had to travel to visit him to cut him off. Suddenly that doesn't hold water when emails come out where you're sharing possible state secrets with this guy. Here, Andrew, the former Duke, is sending a message to Jeffrey Epstein asking, I am checking, but as this is a U.S. institution, do you know of anyone who might take a look? Talking about a company called Aria Petroleum, which was sent to him, which says the company needs a $200 million working capital line due to significantly increased business from U.S. DoD. So Andrew would have had access to all this deal flow, all these things, and it looks like, at least in some instances, he would actually seek possible investment from Jeffrey Epstein for some of these companies. I want to call back your mind to this interview because it's so important to realize how this guy has lied to our faces for years before we address the bigger elephant in the room.
He was released in July. Within months, by December of 2010, you went to stay with him at his New York mansion. Why? Why were you staying with a convicted sex offender?
Right. Now, I went there with the sole purpose of saying to him that because he had been convicted, it was inappropriate for us to be seen together. I felt that doing it over the telephone was the chicken's way of doing it. I had to go and see him, unfortunately.
Well, there you have it. Prince Andrew says he had to go see and tell Epstein personally that, oh, we can't be friends anymore because you're convicted. I can't do that for you. And this is late in December 2010 where he says he went to cut off Jeffrey Epstein because he now knew that he's a convicted. But again, if you look at the dates of all these deals being passed along to Epstein, all these messages being passed along, it's right around the 2010, specifically December 2010 line where supposedly he had one thing in mind, and that was to cut off Jeffrey Epstein. Actually, he might have been passing along state secrets. Now, obviously, a formal investigation by the UK police is going to commence, but that's what this arrest appears to be about so far. Misconduct in public office, his responsibilities to the people of the UK at the time, and how these emails could have affected that. But it's this larger context of Andrew lying about his association with Epstein that I want to bring to the front of this next conversation, because obviously Prince Andrew's biggest problem with the Epstein files isn't necessarily the confidential information he shared. It's obviously the allegations made against him, specifically by a woman named Virginia Giuffre, who was captured in an image with Prince Andrew at the time when she was a young lady, and then later she alleged to have been trafficked to Prince Andrew and that they had together. Andrew was asked about this in an interview and famously denied it. Not only denied it, but said it all couldn't have happened because he didn't sweat at the time.
She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was, yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at, and I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
Well, there's another monster whopper from the former Prince Andrew, because of course he claims, oh, I couldn't have been there because she describes me as sweating and it's impossible for me to sweat. But of course, some photos emerged where Prince Andrew appears to be sweating like a pig. But of course, all of this is the lead up to the bigger denial, right? It's not about whether he sweats or not. It's about his word versus Virginia Giuffre.
You can say categorically that you don't recall meeting Virginia Roberts, dining with her, dancing with her at Trump, or going on to have sex with her in a bedroom in a house in Vancouver.
I can absolutely categorically tell you
It never happened. And I want to say Virginia Roberts, that's her maiden name, Giuffre, her later name is Roberts there. But what's so interesting about what the Epstein files have revealed, remember that we were told it's a big nothing burger, nothing's gonna come out of this, but nearly all of Prince Andrew's lies in this interview have been discovered now that we have contemporaneous communication, such as this communication between Jeffrey Epstein and a guy named Thomas Landon. Now, Landon formerly worked for the New York Times until 2019. Thomas Landon says here, I think the big issue is separating yourself from Andrew. I mean, in the end, he had consensual sex with Virginia Roberts, and Virginia Roberts worked for you. The rest is atmospherics. Now, this is a huge allegation because Thomas Landon is basically admitting, yeah, of course, Virginia Roberts had sex with Prince Andrew, and of course, she worked for you. So this is a tacit admission back in 2015, way early on, that the substance of the story of them actually having sex is true. But the prince basically says it never happened at all. And so I don't really know how credible that is. He's basically lied through his teeth this entire time about his ability to sweat, meeting her at all. There's a photo of it. And then, of course, having sex with her. Internally, they're like, yeah, of course that happened. And that's just the Virginia Giuffre part. That's to say nothing of the lies about cutting off Epstein in 2010 when it appears that the exact opposite happened and that he's passing along key information from his role as this trade envoy. I should also mention that this has been a closely examined story for a long time. Andrew Lowney released a book exploring his friendship with Epstein and his relationship, alleging a lot of damaging things related to Andrew's personal life. The book alleges that while staying in Thailand, more than 40 women were brought to his hotel room. Hotel staff were used to foreigners bringing in girls, but amazed that more than 10 a day were going to Andrew's room, Lowney writes. The book also alleges that compromising material on Andrew may have been passed to Israel's Mossad Secret Service. So it isn't as if this is Andrew's first time getting in trouble, but the Epstein files have confirmed a lot of what has been whispered about or suspected for a long time about his improper handling of his relationship with Epstein, of his position in the 2010s. We also discovered in the files the DOJ actually approached Prince Andrew about information regarding someone named Peter Nygaard, who was, quote, believed to have trafficked minor and adult victims. According to the UK Telegraph, the Duke is understood to have stayed at Mr. Nygaard's mansion with his ex-wife in June 2000. Later, that same guy was convicted on assaults of 4 women, ranging in age from 16 to 28 at the time of offenses. So Andrew has been embroiled in controversy for a while. This may just be the first thing that he's actually stuck with, is this charge of inappropriate leaking of confidential information. I don't know. I am pleased, I guess, on the one hand, to see that something has come from all of this, but sadly, it's just kind of this, I don't want to say lesser charge, but it really does feel like with everything
And what's this here? Les Wexner's attorney during his House Oversight Committee deposition.
It was just regularly done. Answer the question. Okay. It was just
what he said was, I will fucking kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words, okay? So Les Wexner, so this is the guy was named as one of the potential accomplices of Jeffrey Epstein, claimed that he was the financial advisor to L.E.D. Rothschild and the Rothschild family in France.
And they had done personal work for the Rothschild family in France. He represented their whole families and a whole bunch of people.
Yep.
He would say, like, I'm providing financial advice to the founders of Google.
What? Hold up, what?
I'm
Wait a minute.
Financial advice to Jeff Bezos.
That's...
I'm providing financial advice for the chief technologist at Google. Wow, I'm in good company because these are really smart guys with a lot of money.
Did Miss Maxwell ever introduce you to any young woman or girl?
No, I don't think she ever introduced me to any female or man.
Did Miss Maxwell ever ask you to introduce more than 5 words, young woman or girl to your friends or associates?
No.
Did you ever introduce any young woman or girl that you met through Miss Maxwell to any of your friends or associates?
Objection. Assumes in fact not in evidence.
Oh.
Did you ever see or become aware of President Trump having a sexual relationship with a person who was introduced to him by Epstein or Maxwell?
Oh, he's probably gonna say no on this.
Has Donald Trump ever discussed Jeffrey Epstein with you?
Nope.
That's surprising.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever discuss Donald Trump with you?
You would say things like, I know President Clinton, or I know the President died, or Jeffrey left a lot of names.
You believe he specifically dropped Donald Trump's name?
No, I'm saying you could have, and I don't remember.
You don't remember? Yeah, he
Did
old.
Epstein ever share any information with you about Donald Trump's sexual activities?
Ooh.
Do you have a relationship with Donald Trump?
He would repeat and repeat himself to me at the fashion show a couple of times, but I wouldn't say, hello, how are you?
It's about $1 billion provided in stocks or given directly to Mr. Epstein.
That's a
They
lot.
spent a lot of time together. Mr. Wexler
For $1 billion, that
went
would-
to both Epstein's Island as well as his other properties. And we should be very clear that there would be no Epstein Island. There'd be no Epstein plane. There'd be no money to traffic women and girls. Mr. Epstein would not be the wealthy man he was without the support of Les Wexler.
And to be clear, you at no point ever considered him to be a friend.
No, I didn't see Jeffrey as a friend. I saw Jeffrey as I see Matt, my attorney. It's friendly, but they're not friends.
Did you yourself write this letter to Mr. Epstein? Read the main body of the birthday note for the record, please.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
You what you want. So here it is. Happy birthday, your friend Leslie.
What was your understanding of what Mr. Epstein would want?
What did Epstein want? Beef jerky or pizza?
He was a bachelor, so I drew a pair of boobs.
You've...
As a kind of a joke and
Yeah?
Don't mess with
You've,
amazing Spider-Man!
you've said a few times throughout this deposition today that you did not consider Mr. Epstein a friend of yours. However, you signed this letter, I quote, your friend Leslie. Why would you sign your friend Leslie to someone you did not consider to be a friend of yours?
Anyone willing to help?
It's a mystery. Like, yeah, I've never even heard of this.
A disappearance.
Welcome to a program devoted entirely to ladies losing it. Let's start with some happy news. CNN has lost nearly 2/3 of its viewers since 2016 amid growing fears the network is circling the drain. What a happy headline that is, but I can't imagine why CNN is struggling. After all, they have a token conservative now. It's Scott Jennings is on the network. Here are 5 lefties, including the host, just yelling at him for existing. I can't understand why that's not rating. It's hugely entertaining. Let's have an example of the balance that CNN is famous for from Abby Phillip. Let's see Abby's always consistent analysis when Ilhan Omar was sprayed with salad dressing, compared to when President Trump was shot by a deranged leftist.
Ilhan Omar in particular has been the center, and you heard it there from the president, the center of a lot of awful attacks. He called her
I'm ready to put on a
Donald
show.
Trump is actually responsible for the vitriol. So is there going to be any acknowledgement of that? Should there be? It's not about the politics of the individual. I mean, look at these people. The thing that they have in common is their complete lack of mental stability. Why is that not the conversation? Why are we in this place of who's to blame? Is it the Democrats or the Republicans? The Republicans aren't trying to assassinate the Democrats. And a lot of talk of they. And then when it's not,
Embrace the chaos.
Let's hear now from transactionist Lily Tino Contino, who has gone from being passive-aggressive to aggressive-aggressive. Fresh from being investigated by authorities for filming real women in female restrooms in Disney, Contino is claiming that if you're guilty of the crime of misgendering, then there will be a confrontation. Oh yes, the dudes are losing it.
because if we meet and you call me by the wrong pronouns, it's gonna be a confrontation. And I don't mean I think you just want to go about your day. I don't want to have to be upset about getting misgendered, and I know you don't want to purposely upset people. And if you do want to purposely upset people, then you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself why. Why am I like this? Why do I want to make people's lives hard? Why don't I want to lift up my life?
It's not about making lives harder. It's about not submitting to bullying or indulging in the delusions of confused folk, even if those confused folk are threatening confrontation or violence. Now to Munich, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered an exceptional speech, genuinely profound, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was surely impressed.
Was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain. I thought I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
Double KO!
Actually, it did originate in Spain.
Yes, with the amazing Spider-Man!
On why Mexicans speak Spanish. How did that happen? Let's hear more from AOC. Here she talks about culture and Western civilization.
A fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin.
The values that underpin Western civilization, Western culture are very thin. She's a Marxist and not a particularly bright one or an eloquent one. Listen here as AOC struggles to answer the most obvious of questions about Taiwan. This is painful.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were?
We are undefeatable!
I
am ready
think
to
that,
put on a show.
This is
My work
such
here is not done.
I think that
Now I
this
see
is
a disappearing.
this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States, and I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
Oh dear, they're not sending their best, are they? But it gets worse. Also on that panel was the Democrat governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. Listen to how she flounders trying to answer a question about Ukraine, and she even says that AOC is much better equipped to talk about geopolitics. The AOC we just heard, really? Goodness.
On Ukraine, what does victory look like?
No, please, I'd love to hear your answer.
Yeah, it is. The two that I am on the panel with are much more steeped in foreign policy than a governor is. But I do think that Ukraine's independence, keeping their land mass, and having the support of all the allies, I think is the goal from my vantage point.
Now compare the Democrats' contribution at the Munich Security Conference to this blistering address from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who spelled out to America's European allies that the Trump administration has no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. This is brilliant. Listen to every word.
And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weak. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo, rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
And Marco Rubio made it clear that the US alliance with Europe must be built on strength and the values of Western civilization. I'm warning you, you may need a cold shower or a cigarette afterwards.
We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilizations in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness.
This place carefully.
An alliance is the alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations.
Executioner! Dressed up as policy, whether it's socialism rebranded or governments pretending that doesn't matter. Free markets, personal responsibility, and capitalism have lifted more people out of poverty than any slogan ever could. But even strong systems fail when governments overspend, overregulate, and manipulate currencies while assuring you everything is perfectly fine. That's why you can protect savings with what's real. Physical gold and silver from American market gold. Tangible assets that hold value through inflation, market turmoil, and repeated failures of the government. With thousands of five-star reviews, they deliver gold and silver to your door or secure gold IRAs for long-term planning and peace of mind. And right now, when you call and mention Rita, you could get up to $20,000 in free silver with your first purchase. Call 844-321-3110 or text Rita to 65532. That's 844-321-3110 or text RIT
By the eye of Agamotto!
Or click the links in the video.
With the amazing
starts to feel like parody.
Rise, my friend!
Us against the world! Having a look at what law enforcement have to deal with these days in blue cities where dim-witted tyrants with too much time on their hands and not enough functioning brain cells, making a nuisance of themselves. And it's not just ICE and border control officers being harassed. A cop simply completing a collision report has to put up with this things.
An unseen assist!
What am I doing?
Why are you here?
I was just doing a collision report, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys going to be here much
One
longer?
way we get to the finish line, Zero.
Until I'm done doing my job.
Because one of the teachers, when I dropped off over there, said y'all been surfing since about 8.
Okay, well, I'm just doing my job, so the quicker I do
Your
my
job
job...
at the elementary school since about 8 a.m.?
I wasn't here.
There was a collision here at the elementary school?
You have to be safe. I'm going to continue to do my
You're
job.
not for us, and you're scaring me.
Judge! An unseen executioner!
Where are your job? Because I don't see that it needs to be right here all morning.
I'm going to explain something. The person that I was working with, approximately 5 minutes ago, this was a collision report. I'm doing my job. I'm doing them all the way.
Can you maybe, like for a second, acknowledge that you could be a really upsetting sight for people right now?
By the eye of Agamotto!
I get it. I get it. But like for us to be able to collaborate with y'all as a board, you're going to have to show us some humanity. You're going to have to show us that you understand the circumstances and the feelings that you evoke. Because like, it would be so rad if you were just here for us. It would be so rad to feel like you guys get it and understand that you are actually the defending line between us and fascism.
You know what would be so rad if that woman was tasered until she came to her senses, like, of course. Fancy demanding and deputy sheriff showed overt support for your delusions of living under some sort of a fascist regime. These people are nuts and they're dangerous. Now, I love this next ICE agent who roasts a Karen, and you don't need to see her to imagine what she looks like.
When you guys are edited, how you look, you don't care. We get that. You know, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this can be a social warrior.
That is superb. And as Blair White pointed out on X, ICE needs to hire more gays immediately. They are the only ones that can defeat the white Karens. Indeed. But that exchange is far more sinister than that amusing line. Listen as the ICE agent tells this deranged Karen that she's impeding their efforts to capture a rapist, a child rapist and murderer. She says she doesn't care.
How does it feel to be a race traitor?
You know, we were trying to get a child molester, right?
No, you weren't.
Yes, we were.
How would you know?
Because it was a woman you talked to.
His wife.
And then his plate came back as murder.
I was supposed to say, calling someone a race traitor.
But you guys don't care.
I hope you realize that is the most racist thing you can say as a white woman.
You'll need a top-notch team
So
to
you
win
know,
this one.
this isn't a good look for you.
You think I care about my look?
No, trust me.
When you guys
it
are
is evident by how you look, you don't care. We get that, trust me. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying this, trying to be a social warrior. If you actually cared, you probably would care about the child who got raped and also the person who got murdered by the person that we were looking for. But see, you don't care.
No, I don't care.
She doesn't care, and she's happy to use racist language to attack an ICE agent. Just gross. Now, let's go to Munich again and hear more discussions from the Munich Security Conference, which for some reason includes the likes of Democrat Sarah McBride, formerly Tim McBride, a male identifying as a woman, who corrects himself here for saying boogeyman instead of boogie people.
I will leave this universe a better place than it
strong
was before
man's
I was
greatest
created.
asset is scarcity. When there is scarcity in jobs, when there is scarcity of opportunity, they pick boogeymen, or in this case, boogie people, and they blame them.
Also Munich was the perpetually miserable Hillary Clinton, whose unhinged hatred for Donald Trump saw her repeatedly and rudely interrupt other panelists who were trying to counter the hysterian hyperbole she was spewing with some sober facts and nonsense.
No, that is absolutely true. But I really, not only do I not like him, I don't like him because of what he's doing to the United States and the world. And I think you should take a hard look at it if you think that there is something good that will come out of it.
What I think Trump is doing in America, I think it is reaction for something that some policies that really went too far.
That's about all Czech Foreign Minister Peter Makinka managed to get out before Hillary stepped up the route and the moderator having to step in.
I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Do women have their rights?
No. I think there are two genders, so some of us think that there is more than one, or more than two genders. I think there is male and female, and the rest truly is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
Does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying because of their freedom and their two genders? That's what you're worried about?
Please finish my points. I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
It makes me nervous. It makes me...
But seriously, can we let Peter finish, please? Can we let Peter finish, please?
Can we let Peter finish, please? Even Hillary Clinton had to admit that countries need strong borders and that immigration, illegal and legal, has
I think we need to call it for what it is. There's a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far, it's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
And that's what America has now, Hillary. No one is being forced to the border that was happening under the previous administration that was illegal human traffickers. Then let's have a burst of the weapons rain crazy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A septum ring is almost always linked to severe mental health issues. And this next last increasingly violent around here. The typical lefty losing it. Let's hear now from another lefty lady who explains she has no love for it. She's only in the country because it's easy to make money.
Let me hold your hand when I say this. We do not move to America because we think it's a better country. We move here because it's a little less worse than our other countries. Because you're stupid to think that we moved to this country for some hot dogs and some baseball. We have better vibes, music, food, culture, history. Literally all of the above.
I've made my
We
share
just
of
moved
mistakes.
here because we were looking to make more money and offer a better chance for our families.
Okay, but those countries are so much better than America. Then why do you move to America to give your family a better life? Why would a country with such rich culture, traditions, superior in every way to America not be a great place to raise your family? Why is there more opportunity in America, even for an impoverished migrant? I want to reflect on that one, love. Now, earlier in the week, I brought you the happy news of CNN losing 2/3 of its audience since 2016. And here's another reason why. They are so hard left these days that this conspiracy theorist is network's chief international disappearing.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Senator, and ask you a question about American elections. There are...
We're going to have it.
Are you sure that President Trump is
You
going
asked me that is really offensive, but yeah, we're going to have it.
Okay, but you know why? Because they've already... Okay, good.
I don't know why anybody would ask me that.
want to make the
Quite
same
frankly,
mistakes
because you're missing a lot's going on. I like you. Let's talk about.
But you can convince everybody, you can assure Americans and others that you go as usual.
Only people worried about us not having elections. You can put the phone there.
I can't believe she really asked me to do it. It's embarrassing. To New York now, where the protesters are blocking Fifth Avenue to yell at Trump Tower and give us Yes, I'm sure the building's feelings are really, really hurt. Meanwhile, this is the man New Yorkers have elected as mayor. Zoran Mandani is now threatening to, and I quote, raid our rainy day fund and retiree benefit fund. Good times.
Well, you can't
Rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap in both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
And increase property taxes. Wow, you got the trifecta there. Now, let's talk about Cardi B. She's been having a meltdown since the clearly more talented and successful Nicki Minaj declared her support for the Trump administration, and in particular, the work the administration is doing to protect persecuted Christians in countries like Nigeria and elsewhere. Cardi B's meltdown has seen her indulge in some bizarre antics. I don't even know what she's doing in this next clip, and I apologise in advance for what I think is going to be a uncomfortable and cringe-worthy 30 seconds.
Again! Your team's capture progress is past the halfway point.
Can hardly walk with all the weird surgeries she's had performed. There's a medical malpractice suit there somewhere. Now here is Cardi B taking another tumble, this time on the back.
I am strengthened for battle.
Nice try there by a dancer trying to cover that up when she's not falling over like a drunken clown. Cardi B is saying something like this, now with that eyes. dangerous! To base their offices. And that's who the Democrats thought was an ideal candidate to campaign for Kamala Harris. Good work, team. Talking about the Democrats, you have to admire this about Hillary Clinton. She has an easy ability to lie with complete confidence, complete lack of shame. Here she explains to the BBC that her and her husband, Bill Clinton, had no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, never mind the fact that Bill Clinton was a regular on the Lolita Express. Never mind that he had such a bizarre relationship with Epstein that this painting took pride of place in Jeffrey Epstein's main residence in New York. Yes, that is the infamous blue dress that Monica Lewinsky was rumoured to be wearing. And then there are the links both Hillary and Bill had with Ghislaine Maxwell through her rather significant role in supporting the creation of the Clinton Global Initiative. And so close was the relationship between the two couples that in 2013, the Clintons, through their charity, honoured Ghislaine Maxwell. This is some 4 years after sexual abuse accusations against her emerged, and 2 years after Bill Clinton's staff recommended banning her from official events. And who can forget that infamous picture of Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's wedding? But, oh no, Hillary Clinton now claims there was no relationship. No links with Epstein and Maxwell and the Clintons.
Sorcerer Supreme.
Regret the links there have been. You know, we have
30
links.
seconds before you attack.
have
Get ready.
a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
You've already saved so many.
I did
Even
on a
Justice
few
needs to
occasions,
rest every now and
and
then.
thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative.
Thousands of people get honoured by the Clinton Global Initiative, Hillary. Did thousands get invited to your only child's wedding? Here is Ice Age actor John Leguizamo railing against ICE, saying that if you support a country's immigration laws being observed, then you must hate immigrants and you can't eat their food.
If you don't like Latin people, if you don't like us speaking Spanish, and you don't like us being here, then you can't eat our chocolate. We gave you that. You can't eat our vanilla. Get off it. You can't have our tomato sauces or ketchup because we brought the world tomato sauces. You can't have anything spicy or hot because we get the world sick. Put your hands off of it. But you can't eat corn or popcorn. We gave you that. You can't eat our squashes, no zucchini, nothing. No beans. Oh, we give the world all the beans. That's right.
Now to another actor in comedy, Kumail Nanjiani, who gets all teary, assuming that people believing in migration laws, well, that means that migrants are demonized.
I think the demonization of immigrants is so contrary to what America tells itself it is. I mean, the idea is these people have come from all over the world. To fight for a better life for themselves and their family, and the fact that we're
There you are, you cheeky.
we're demonizing them to me is really, really hard for me. So
The only ones demonizing immigrants are the Democrats who conflate illegal and legal migrants like laws mean nothing. Now, this is a celebrity losing it that I did not expect to see. I always saw Dave Chappelle as a largely sane, old-school left being, but no, he has succumbed to the woke mind virus. Here he is, visiting a memorial and paying his respects to Alex Pretty.
A little help, please. An ancient mystical squirrel? No, I've seen it all.
This is the dude Dave Chappelle is paying tribute to, a man who repeatedly clashed with law enforcement, who was violent and came to these protests armed with a gun and a strap. Pick your heroes a little more carefully, Democrats. Now to trans activist Dylan Mulvaney, who has made his Broadway debut, stepping into the role of Anne Boleyn in the musical Six, and in typical Dylan style, he is playing the victim and finding all sorts of similarities between himself and Anne Boleyn.
I think some people might consider me to be a slightly polarizing woman. And I'm trying to ready to put on a show! James Reed is also quite polarizing. And there's something really beautiful about getting to embody this woman who was a little bit ahead of her time, and I think a lot of it misunderstood.
Well, there you go. Dylan mocking womanhood is just like the Queen of England being beheaded for treason by Henry VIII, obviously. We should be grateful that Dylan and the production's writer are taking this historical figure seriously.
Our enemies are near. An unseen assist.
Place that we have visited many times.
Ancient beast of each star shall guide you. By the eye of Agamotto! Ionic magic!
Is now saying, damn him. And so,
don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
And I said, wow, what will he do? And she said, he made us move in order for our own safety. And it's now he's destroying the country. You know, listen. Wow.
An unseen assist!
It seems incredible making our own child miserable with anxiety and doomsday rhetoric. Even Rosie knows her daughter thinking like this isn't healthy.
I think to myself, you don't want to give this to her. You know, whatever this thing is of me thinking that I have to somehow stand in defiance of him. No, I don't. Somebody can tap me out, you know. Yeah. I did 22 years. I don't really need to do it more, and I don't to be so affected by it.
Ionic magic!
And you know, she has autism.
But she recognizes what's going on.
Yes. No, she doesn't recognize what's going on.
Ionic magic!
People like you and her mother
Damn it, never fall! Ionic magic!
Here's our moral noble crusader Dave having a meltdown with a Donald Trump
just a wonder of idiocy. Fantastic. It knows no bounds. None. No, and it's never ending. These are current people. They're not going anywhere.
Mortal pain is no match for the Sorcerer Supreme.
Dave rants about how Donald Trump's accomplishments are the
I'm
worst
opening a
thing humanly
portal.
imaginable. The dude needs help.
I'm
I
can't.
Well, on that note, I have to
Things
go.
happen. Just remember. Hey, Piggy, things happen.
Things happen.
Good God.
We got trouble. Don't forget to subscribe.
15 times the worst behavior one has witnessed ever anywhere. Think of the worst thing you've ever seen humans accomplish. This is so much worse.
They let him is that triggered by the word quickie. Imagine the meltdown when you realize
Fantastic! Power beyond sight! Ancient one, I hope my success will make you proud.
CNN asked Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar about the president.
Something else that the president said. He said that
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! Your powers are mine! I have unfinished
These words
business here.
shouldn't even be repeated by anyone, much less a president of the United States. Again, he goes after people because they look different than him.
Really? He attacked Tim Walz because he needed some help. Different than him? It's not that he is a far left governor who's earned tampons because he put tampons in boys' locker rooms across the state. It's not because he's so hopeless that hundreds of Minnesota of failing to act on widespread fraud and punishing whistleblowers. And when the president was asked earlier today if he regretted his characterization of Governor Walz as seriously retarded, he had this to say. See if you can detect any regret.
Do you stand by that?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely. You have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
I don't know about you, but he doesn't seem sorry to me. Let's go back to CNN and a fiery debate that has gone viral. Clips of this all over social media. And it involves Katie Miller, a Republican political advisor and wife of Stephen Miller, taking on the hopelessly biased hard-left host and
Hear my command.
Tool host. You ain't fooling anybody, Abby, least of all, Katie.
I am a mutant. It's about whether someone like Tucker Carlson, who is a very powerful force in
30 seconds
the
before you
conservative
attack.
movement.
You have people on your show all the time calling my husband and myself a Nazi.
That is a different
You had Jennifer Wilson on your show very often, and you've never pushed back
Hear
as she
my
was calling
command.
my husband a white nationalist.
Hold on.
That is no different than Nick Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson's show. It's not, and you should admit it.
Well, hold on. Wait, hold on. How is it anything similar? It's not remotely similar at all. Nick Fuentes sits around and says that he likes Hitler. How is that similar to do with it?
What's she have to do with that? She has nothing to do with it.
All you need to do is capture the mission area.
Has nothing to do with it, and you have not only allowed the
Krakoa
likes
brought
of
mutants together.
irredeemably
So here
awful
we must
Jennifer
make
Welch
our
to
stand.
appear on your program and spew the most hateful rhetoric imaginable, without any pushback, might I add. But you have gone on her podcast. You even went on her podcast this week with their insane rambling. Christine, you hold yourself to a high standard. You do not. That poll that didn't get as much attention as it perhaps deserved. It certainly created a lot of online chatter. It was the annual eponymous YouGov poll, and
So
showed
many
support
misguided
for same-sex
souls.
marriage has plummeted to 54%. We've now got 33% saying
Chaos
they don't
surrounds
think same-sex
us,
marriage should be
but I
legal,
will
and
gladly
13%
show it to his
unsure.
intelligence.
Compare that to just a few years ago when polls showed that 70% of Americans supported same-sex marriage. What's behind this drop in support? Well, the lefties are blaming Donald Trump, but our good friend Eve Lauren has a more astute perspective.
So the short answer for why support for same-sex marriage has gone down is because us normal gays, us common sense gays, are unfortunately becoming guilty by association. Okay, we're being lumped in with all of the LGBTQIA crap. Okay, the most fringe and obscene corner of the LGBT agenda. They're the ones that make the most attention online and on television, and unfortunately, those of us who are normal and don't make being gay our entire personality, we are getting lumped in.
Let's bring in what do you think of that theory that support for same-sex marriage and perhaps even attitudes to trans people has
Feel the wrath of the goddess! Feel the presence! Adore the praise!
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to that, Rita. I mean, if you look at the power of trying to crack down on it, but the overwhelming majority of Americans are not down with gender agenda. There are any number of polls that bear this up. There's the famous kind of average of the 80%, 20% split when it comes to the question as to whether biological males should compete in women's sports. So yes, I think there's some truth to the notion that the same-sex marriage issue is some sort of collateral damage from that. However, there probably is something more than that going on here as well. The family life in America is not currently going up. Birth rates is usually that is primarily not.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
By the way, as someone who is a religious Jew and opposes same-sex marriage, so I oppose it. I don't think that it is the number one culprit when it comes to plummeting birth rates. I think there are a lot of Americans who are generally just looking around at the burned rubble of family life, which has really taken a tremendous beating over the past 40, 50, 60 years. Just to put the one-word downway ratchet there, and they're kind of looking for answers, grasping at straws, if you will, and that decision came out about 10 years ago at the Supreme Court, something called King. I think that there's part of that going on there, but I think what we just heard from Lane Lauren is probably the number one factor. I would probably agree with that.
Josh Mallett's Guardian ran this piece with a headline that fully care about Christians. Of course not. He just knows faith sells, and they went on to claim that though the threat of Islamist terrorism is real, the country of Muslims is much more popular than there's no other genocide. What's the response to that? There's evidence of genocide seems to be very evident. I hope you can forgive me someday, for no other reason than they're Christian.
Rita, what an apathetic headline from the Guardian. Unfortunately, this is part of the quote from the Guardian, which is, if anything further to the left over in the UK than the New York Times here is the US. It's a far, far, far left, deeply anti-Western civilizational publication. Look, I saw one statistic a few days ago that really caused
Vehicle reached a checkpoint.
If I'm remembering hope I'm not wrong on this. If I remember correctly, they estimated that roughly half of the people who have been killed over the past, God, it was year, 2 years, 3 years, for half of Christians who recently killed because of their faith have been in Nigeria, literally just in this one country, and that is due to Boko Haram. That is due to the fact that the Nigerian government is currently failing the absolute singular response to test what it means to be a sovereign government to have a monopoly on the people. It's not Boko Haram, which is a radical Al-Qaeda, ISIS-style jihadist who control large swaths of Nigeria. And it is absolutely a genocide based on every single definition of what a genocide would be. The targeted, deliberate, wanton, cruel slaughter of people they shouldn't have
Let the devil
the fact that at his core, he is a Western civilization. He understands that Christianity, the biblical imperative more generally, is what Western civilization. When he sees Christians being wantonly slaughtered by radical fanatical Islamists where the sun don't shine because they have no idea what they're talking about. But as I said, this is part of the course of the
again.
Now I want to play you some footage of Nigerian Bishop Wilfred Tupac Nag, who was at the European Parliament last week to speak about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Your powers are mine! Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Human rights. The man is there for help for these people who are being slaughtered. He urged the European officials to not remain silent about the killing of Christians. He said that Nigeria's rights to cry about their help, not remain silent. Because you've got these
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
So this is what attach themselves, they will glom onto something about your persona, something about your identity, in order to try to impeach your credentials on a totally unrelated issue.
To make the same
How do I know this? Because it's literally happened to me. Just over a year ago, actually, I was doing a Federal Society law school event at Loyola Chicago, a small Catholic law school in downtown Chicago. I was talking to the basic professor there about presidential immunity in the context of Biden era law there. Okay, long story short, there were probably 25, give or take, students for justice. because I wasn't there to talk about it. I was literally there to debate a constitutional issue, a major Supreme Court issue that came back last year dealing with Article 2 executive power. So I sympathize with this RCC bitch in Brussels because it's literally happened to me, where the left attacks you something that is core to your personal identity and has nothing whatsoever to do with what you're talking about there. This is who they are. They are obsessed with skin color. They're obsessed with sex power. They are obsessed with everything other than the merit of the argument where Martin Luther King Jr. refers to as the content of his character. They don't care about actions. And with that, they care only about superficial progress there, and that is what happens with what's happening in San Chicago when you go there.
The Cosmos heals. Your powers of might! Feel the wrath of the goddess!
By Afghan nationals.
We are in this together.
Afghanistan again, one of the most painful episodes of the Biden administration. And we saw after that the granting of asylum to thousands with barely any vetting. How deep is this problem? Was this just one bad apple who got through, or was the vetting
I feel better already.
Oh no, it is far more than that.
Only 60 seconds left.
Last week, actually, arrested another Afghan quote-unquote refugee in the state of Texas. This other refugee in Texas was arrested for posting online about or whatever happy-sounding platitude the Biden administration gave to that operation there. I mean, this has been a ticking time bomb since day one. The fundamental problem, and by the way, on some estimates here, you're talking about upwards of 8,000 men over the course of this program and related programs. That is an astonishing number. I mean, it kind of harks to memory Angela Merkel with the I mean, like, literally, what are they thinking? I mean, this is a toxic entity. This is a suicide by a phone attention. That is what it is there. It's so discomforting and so harrowing. Tragedy this happening in America right on the eve of the Thanksgiving holidays. When the nation was supposed to be united, it was supposed to be united around flag, patriotism, and national honor and all that there. We're dealing with this horrific tragedy from the previous administration there. The Trump administration, to their great credit, Rita, they are working really hard now to try to undo as much of this mess as they possibly can. They are stopping all current asylee refugee applications there. They're talking about potentially even going as far as denaturalizing citizenship for those who have acquired citizenship while being loyal to a foreign terrorist organization. So there's a lot of legal avenues you can pursue here. I have confidence that the Pambadi DOJ is currently pursuing all of them, but for now it is a horrific tragedy and is made doubly horrific by the fact that it was so easily preventable in the first place. If only these people had a modicum of good old-fashioned common sense.
And we've seen some really dangerous rhetoric from some Democrats who should know better. Even members of the so-called seditious six, Alyssa Slotkin, was on television just a week or two ago before this attack, saying that she feared these National Guard members would start shooting citizens in the street. Has there been any sort of accountability, any sort of reckoning, or even just an apology, a recognition that this sort of rhetoric is dangerous? And when you've got an issue with left-wing violence, you can't just go making these outrageous comments on television without thinking that some lunatic is going to take it seriously.
Rita, if they have done anything to try to show they have any remorse or any regret for the language they use to describe their political opposition, aka us, I've not seen it. If they've shown any remorse, certainly it has gone right above my head. Let's recall, these are the exact same people. I mean, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, literally a handful of days, less than a week, memory serves, before my friend Charlie Kirk's assassination, Senator Murphy of Connecticut was talking about how Democrats are going to have to get comfortable getting their hands dirty and doing things they wouldn't normally want to do. These are the same folks who barely batted an eyelash after a bullet came within millimeters of assassinating Donald Trump on international global television in Butler, Pennsylvania. The same folks who have just continued to double and triple and quadruple down when it comes to calling all of us on the side of civilizational sanity. They call us fascists and tyrants and Nazis and Hitlerites there. they have not stopped their rhetoric for a second. I suppose it must be good for their left-wing fundraising. I suppose it makes them feel good. They can morally preen from the cameras and from the mirror there. They look good for their very far left, blue check Twitterati echo chamber, but it's having real horrible effects in the real world. Really bad effects. And may this young, brave, courageous 20-year-old National Guardsman from West Virginia, may her memory